Hi, I'm Dan Hilton, Research Manager with HousingLink. We at HousingLink have recently enhanced our long-standing Minnesota housing measures report. And today I'm going to talk about three key insights this data visualization offers into the affordable housing landscape of Minnesota. So very briefly, Minnesota Housing Measures is a report intended to follow a small group of baseline affordable housing metrics through the years, remaining consistent in the face of various market influences ranging from the COVID pandemic to periods of high inflation. The data begins in 2017 and is updated annually. And I'll note that at the time I'm recording this video, data is only updated through 2022. We're currently processing data through the end of 2023 and fully expect to do another annual update late in 2024. So watch for an announcement of Minnesota housing measures with updated data later this year. Okay, with that out of the way, let's talk about the first insight. The percent of private market rental vacancies that are affordable. Now, what do we mean by rental vacancies that are affordable? Well, for purposes of this analysis, we're considering homes to be affordable if they cost a household no more than 30% of their income, which is kind of an industry standard. And to do the calculation, we are comparing gross housing cost, so that's rent plus utilities, to the median household income for the county in which the vacancy is listed. For more detail about how that analysis is done, you can check out a dedicated Affordable by AMI video down in the description. But basically, we're just saying, is that gross housing cost less than 30% of a household's income for a couple of different income levels? Now, we know based on our analysis that over 90% of vacancies in the private market in Minnesota are affordable to a family making the actual full median income, which was $117,300 for a family of four in Hennepin County in 2022. But we know a lot of renters are not making the full median income. So in our measure, we're actually looking at affordability for households making 60% of the area median and households making 30% of the median, thinking that those ranges better reflect the renter population in Minnesota, especially those in need of affordable housing. So what you can actually do in the upper part of this visualization is explore how that metric has changed since 2017 for different regions of the state. And we'll do that. We'll look at 2017. And I think there's two things that jump out. One, the majority of vacancies are affordable to 60% of the area median for most regions of the state, except for the Twin Cities, where only 28% of the vacancies were affordable in 2017. But, and this is the second thing that jumps out, if you're making 30% of the area median, almost nothing was affordable to you in the open market. So if we fast forward to 2022, things have shifted a bit. An interesting and maybe unexpected thing is we've actually been seeing incomes go up at a rate that exceeds the rate at which rents have gone up for the most part. Now, this is mostly because rents were fairly stable in the metro through the years of the pandemic. We're now starting to see some meaningful increases year over year. So we'll see where this goes with our next couple of updates. But at least through 2022, we were seeing an increase of affordability at that 60% of area median income level. And in fact, we are seeing increases of affordability at 30% of AMI, but look where it still is for that lowest group of earners. For reference, in 2022, that was a family of four making $35,190 a year. So even though median incomes are going up, if a family at 30% of the median or below is living in a private market rental unit with no assistance, they're almost certainly paying a rent beyond what would be considered affordable. Now, note that the visualization also gives you the opportunity to drill down to see the year-over-year trend for any of the 7 regions of the state. So here you see the Twin Cities, a big increase of affordability for those making 60% of the area median. But down here for those making 30%, for many of these years, it actually rounds down to 0 because the total is less than 0.5%. Before I move on, I do always like to mention that talking about affordability in housing is a tricky thing. We who work in this industry tend to express affordability in broad brush terms, such as 30% of a household's income. But that calculation is really different for a family that, say, is carrying a lot of credit card or medical debt or paying for college or whatever. It's just important to remember that individual families looking for housing can only evaluate the notion of affordable relative to their own circumstances. And of course, this should go without saying, but just because median income is going up, that doesn't mean everybody's income is going up. So if I'm talking about a great percentage of the market being affordable to people making 60% of the area median, that means nothing to an individual family if their income is not at that level, or if their financial situation got worse. Statistics for an entire region or an entire county can give us some insights about the market, but they definitely do not speak to individual circumstances. Okay, so now we will move on to the second insight: publicly assisted affordable rental housing. So where the previous tab, looking at advertised rents, is our view into the private market, this data refers to the supply of rental housing that is affordable thanks to public funding. And it's the sum total of 2 distinct types of affordable housing. The first is what we call unit-based affordable rental, where affordability stays with a specific unit through successive occupants that meet residency requirements. The affordability can be either a contractual obligation to keep rents at a certain level of affordability, or it can involve a direct subsidy of the rent that occupants pay. And the other type of housing is housing choice vouchers, commonly referred to as Section 8 vouchers, where affordability stays with a renter who can use it in the private market. The utilization and acceptance of Section 8 vouchers is fraught. There's long waiting lists and many closed waiting lists to get the vouchers. And in most places, including anywhere in Minnesota except for Minneapolis, property managers are not required to accept the vouchers. But ultimately, there are nearly 35,000 vouchers currently being utilized in the state of Minnesota. So it comprises a not insignificant portion of what we would call the affordable housing stock in the state. And so for this insight, we are looking at the total households served in these 2 types of publicly assisted housing. The upper part of this visualization allows you to view the entire state of Minnesota, which is the default, and also to look at different regions of the state. For example, the Twin Cities Metro, where there has been an increase in the total amount of unit, especially unit-based affordable housing, and Southwest Minnesota, where there has not. The bottom part of the visualization allows you to select specific years and see the total inventory of housing for both units and vouchers in the state. Just showing you how the numbers change with a selection of a different year. Okay, moving on to the final insight. which is about funding for affordable housing. And it shows total investment in Minnesota from 3 sectors: federal, as represented by total HUD allocations; state, through investment by Minnesota Housing, the state housing finance agency; and philanthropic, by way of grants for affordable housing activities in the state. It's the most straightforward of the visualizations in Minnesota housing measures, and it's been a part of this effort since the early days of our static report. The intent is to demonstrate public spending as a reflection of public will, and you will see the response in our state to times of heightened need, like recession, or here more recently during the COVID pandemic. The upper part of the visualization shows the sum total of spending by year for each of the 3 sectors. And the bottom part of the visualization shows you the contributions of each of those as a percentage of the total. So that's an overview of the 3 key insights you can find in Minnesota housing measures. We do have some data notes covering our sources for all this work, as well as some contextual information below the visualization on our site. I also encourage you to visit housinglink.org/research to see our full suite of offerings, ranging from these types of ongoing data visualizations to reports, raw data, and collaborative work with other organizations concerned with affordable housing in the state of Minnesota. Thanks so much for your interest in HousingLink data and research.